All right, thanks for that, Danny. Well, Arkansas's tax-free weekend begins tomorrow. We were over here talking about what we're gonna go and buy.
Yeah, I've got it back to school, back to dorm tomorrow or next week for me, so we're going to be doing a lot of shopping.
Yeah, you're being a good mom. I'm just gonna go be a bad wife and buy
No, you gotta
everything
do what
I
you
don't
gotta
need.
All right, while not everything is included, remember that, Tiffany, many back-to-school essentials and other items will be exempt from state and local sales tax.
5 News reporter Claire Everbach is joining us live to explain how shoppers can save. Claire's also a shopper. So, Claire, what are you wanting to buy this weekend?
Oh, ladies, I can't even decide. I was just texting with a few friends about what we're going to plan on buying this weekend. I'm definitely going to hit the TJ Maxx that I'm seeing in the distance after this, and maybe even the Academy Sports. And while not every item is going to be tax-free this weekend, you can actually either go in person or online. So those online orders do count. I know that's been a big question for a lot of people. And even though it's not every item, there really is something for everyone. We're going to show you that list right now of everything that you can buy for back to school, or if you're just a shopaholic like me. Some big categories are clothing and footwear under $100, clothing, accessories, and equipment under $50, school supplies, of course, and even school instruction items, including electronics. The Arkansas Department of Finance says that you don't have to shop in person in order to qualify for the tax break. Online orders count too.
And the way they determine that is where it's shipped. So as long as you purchase that item online between 12:01 a.m. August 1st to 11:59 p.m. on the 2nd, if it's going to be shipped to Arkansas, it can arrive anytime. But if that shipping destination's in Arkansas, it will be tax-free.
Well, like we have mentioned, Arkansas is this weekend, but if you live in Oklahoma or Missouri, you're going to have tax-free weekend next weekend. That's definitely something to look forward to. I'm already targeting the Oklahoma stores that I'm going to hit, so make sure to prepare for next weekend, do all your back-to-school shopping, or just for fun. Live in Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Claire Everbach, 5 News.
Thanks for that, Claire. Well, with the first day of school just days away, there are a few events happening this weekend that will check off that back-to-school list for you. Tomorrow in Fort Smith at First United Methodist Church Family Life Center from 9 to noon, families can go get backpacks and school supplies along with eye exams, physicals, haircuts, and shoe vouchers. Kids must be present to get those things. Also an event happening at the Convention Center in Fort Smith starting at 9 a.m. School supplies will be given directly to students at the event. Well, all day Saturday at Arvis Ballpark, the Samaritan Community Center will distribute 3,000 free backpacks, haircuts, and food on a first-come, first-served basis. Tickets are required, though, and have already been distributed. Although this year's event is full, the center says it's already accepting donations for next year.
And today's the deadline to register to vote in Oklahoma's primary runoff next month. Voters will be deciding on multiple races and ballot proposals on August 25th. One of the big ones, the Republican primary for the governor's race. All voters will also be deciding whether you should have an ID in order to vote. That'll be State Question 846. Now, Sequoyah County will be voting on a $23.5 million bond package for Salisol schools. The district says it will go towards long-needed improvements for fine arts, athletics, and student safety. Well, Arkansas Secretary of State's office has now rejected a citizen-led constitutional amendment submitted for the November election.
The measure would eliminate what organizers call political interference from the legislature. Now, this is after it enacted a series of laws for getting ballot questions approved.
Most of those laws have since been blocked by a judge. Catherine Rowley has more.
Our job is to make sure that the laws are followed evenly, fairly, and that they are followed to the letter. And that means that if you can't follow the law, you won't be getting on the ballot.
On Thursday, Arkansas Secretary of State Cole Jester announced his office reject the Arkansas ballot measure rights amendment, even though the Attorney General's office had approved it.
They departed from the Attorney General's approved popular name, and the law is really clear that if you depart from the popular name, you get approved, you can't use that. So that disqualified their signatures. But there were some other irregularities as well.
Jester says that his review uncovered additional problems.
There were signatures from out of state. There were places where notaries had signed blank lines. There were places where you could see that someone had written their name twice in a row, and there were thousands of duplicate signatures, just some really odd and a little disconcerting things.
But Bill Kopsky, who led the effort to get the amendment to appear on the ballot, says Thursday's decision came as a shock. He says that the group added 2026 to the petition packets, but the amendment itself did not change while gathering signatures.
The Secretary of State's office themselves approved that petition for circulation last summer, never saying a word about any concerns about the language on it. And now, a year later, they want to cry sour milk over a minor technicality.
Kopsky, who works with the Protect Our Rights Coalition that led the initiative efforts, says duplicate signatures and out-of-state signatures happen in these type of campaigns. But the group believes it collected enough valid signatures to move forward.
Our goal is to ensure that the rights of Arkansas voters, clearly the will of voters is that they want an opportunity to vote on this November, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure they have that opportunity.
And the group says that the battle over the ballot is far from over.
Continuing coverage on murder suspect Stacey Lee Drake. He was in Sequoia County Court on Thursday. His attorney filed more than 20 motions ahead of his trial, asking a judge to keep a gag order in place and to consider adding witnesses and evidence before the trial. Drake is accused of murdering Tara Underwood and Taylor Sharp at LaFerrie's Propane in Gans in 2024. He's also accused of murdering Philip Emerson in Canadian County, Oklahoma, and Russell Andrews in Alabama. Drake's jury trial is scheduled for February next year.
The Arkansas Department of Transportation is asking for feedback on a project to help ease backup traffic on the intersection of Highway 412 and I-49. The proposed project would widen portions of the highway, add turn lanes, rework the I-49 northbound off-ramp, and extend a raised median through part of the corridor. The $11.5 million project is expected to take 2.5 years to complete once construction begins. At a public input meeting, one woman who lives nearby says the short-term inconvenience will be worth the improvements.
I won't be able to avoid the area because I live in Harbor Meadows. There would be some pain, so I guess we're ready for that.
Well, if you want to share your thoughts with RDOT, we will be taking public comments on the project for 2 weeks. Now, they have set up a website with information on the plan, how to submit your feedback. The deadline is Friday, August 14th.
Well, the countdown to high school football is here, but before the first Friday night kickoff, the Arkansas Activities Association is making some changes to the rules. The updates include tougher penalties for fighting, new eligibility guidelines for student athletes, and a decision to leave the current football classification system untouched. AAA says that athletes ejected for fighting will miss their next 2 games, with a second fighting ejection resulting in a 4-game suspension. The organization also clarified that students have 6 years of athletic eligibility, which begins in 7th grade.